So, Dad, you're alive in the 1960s, correct?
That's right.
Did you hear Martin Luther King Jr. speak?
Yeah, I did. I heard a couple of them. I think, I was pretty young then, teenager, I guess, and so I think I probably heard a couple of them. I'm not so sure I listened to the whole thing.
What did you feel when you heard some of it?
I realize now that I think it was really relevant, to what was going on, and the way he said it was easy to understand that there was going to be a change coming.
Yeah. What did you do for fun and activities?
I think bicycling, swimming. We spent a lot of time outdoors. We were in the creek and the streams, up on the hill, playing games, kick the can, hide and go seek, terrorizing the neighbors in summer evenings by scaring them, things like that.
What was your hometown like?
It was a really nice place to grow up. It was quiet and green, and everybody knew everybody, kind of thing, and it was a lot of neighbors nearby, a lot of activities going on. It was, I just remember it being a very happy place to be.
Were there any gangs at your school?
No organization. I mean, there was kind of groups of kids that picked on other kids, but they didn't wear colors or anything like that.
What did those kids look like with their clothes and?
It depends. I mean, really, the ones that were allowed to look tough wore like black leather or worn out jeans and black boots, and had their hair greased back. They looked, I mean, to me, as that age, they looked to be a lot older than we were, but they weren't. They're the same age.
Did you ever hear about any gangs?
No, except for maybe stories of the past, gangs. Not around where I lived.
Yeah. What did your mom and dad do for a living?
My mom was a nurse, and then she became a housewife, I think, when I was born. And my father worked as a manager in a manufacturing plant that did electronics, vacuum tubes back then.
What kind of clothes were the most popular?
Actually, it was jeans and t-shirts were just coming into, style at that point. The greasers wore tight peg-leg jeans with white socks and white t-shirts and usually black loafers, and everybody else that let their hair grow probably wore t-shirts that said something on them, which I don't believe we were allowed to do that in high school, and bell-bottoms were just coming into play. And actually, the thing that made jeans popular is they weren't allowed in high school.
Really?
Yep, and we had to sit in my junior year and force the administration to allow blue jeans.
Oh my gosh. Wow. What was the most common hairstyle?
Common hairstyle, longer than it is today, I'd say, over the years for guys. Girls, long, straight hair. Girls with, long hair pretty much more than not. Also, a lot of guys that, came from different backgrounds had their hair greased back. They're called ducktails and things like that. They put that cream on their hair and it was greased back.
What was that cream called?
It was bro cream. It was white, slimy stuff.
Did you ever use it?
No, I didn't do that.
From today.
Thank you.
Just kidding. Do you remember the day John F. Kennedy was assassinated?
Yeah, I was in 3rd grade. I was 8 years old, and we got out of school that day. It was I'll never forget.
What was the general feeling throughout the whole school and your household?
Well, I think sadness was the thing that really was obvious to me. That I realized as I get older that it was mostly fear and uncertainty. That he offered so much change from the way it was, which I have no idea what it was like because I was just, like I said, a young person then. But I think, the stability and change that was being put forth was gone all of a sudden, and I think people were scared.
I bet. What were you learning at school when you were my age?
Dress shirts and dress slacks. I had some pretty wild checkered slacks. I had a pair. I'm glad I don't have pictures of some of that stuff. I mean, it was like loafers and checked pants were style, with flared bottoms and I think I always wore a dress shirt or a sweater.
What were you learning when you were my age?
Well, you know, the standard reading, writing, arithmetic, and geography, and phys ed, and I liked history a lot, and we had geography was taught from a book, and we had to write everything that we learned in a ledger. And I'll never forget the look at that book. It was, you know, 4 inches thick, and I think it was so dog-eared from all the classes before me. And so I just remember that having maps to me was interesting. I like geography for that reason.
Yeah. What kind of cars were the most popular?
Well, as a kid, it was muscle cars. I mean, there were, you know, Chevy SS's and Super Sport and GTOs and Chevelle 2s, you know, with fancy wheels on them and stuff. Kids that had parents that bought them cars that were able to convince them to buy muscle cars had them.
Yeah. What did you and your friends do for fun around town?
We rode our bicycles, probably. In the summer, we rode our bikes and went swimming, and we actually rode in the woods. They weren't mountain bikes, but back then we actually go up on trails because we were venturing into the woods anyway. It was quicker to get back down the mountain if you took a bicycle.
Yeah.
Kind of pushed it up and then rode on trails and then coasted back down. That, and we were in the stream. We fished a lot because the stream was right near town, and camped a lot out. In the summer, we'd camp out together in different people's backyards a lot.
Was there anything more popular than others, like outside of school?
Music. It was the time when music was really changing in the 70s, middle and early 70s. I still will never forget, I must have been 13 or 12, going to the state park pool, and the radio station played, and the radio station disc jockey played all this Doors and Bob Dylan and Rolling Stones. I mean, this stuff was all, the reason it was so popular was that, you know, most parents didn't approve of it, and we were kids and we had our own thing now. I think music was the thing that was super popular.
Did people ever make fun of other people for their looks or the way they acted?
Yeah, they did. I think mostly, you know, as I get older, I look back on it and it's more of a, you know, there's some kind of a chip on their shoulder or something that we're picking on others. There's some people that were, you know, you might expect just normal society, you know, people that weren't as caring or understanding, but I think there were people too that had a chip on their shoulder. So yeah, some of the folks that had different appearances and really wanted to be completely different, some of them also had like issues with others who probably made them uneasy that they looked so unusual after once in a while. They were kids after all.
Yeah.
And so they had to pick on people.
What do people do generally for their occupation?
My parents?
No, like people around town.
Oh, around town, generally everybody worked at the electronics plant. Sylvania Electronics made vacuum tubes, and it was a huge employer in the area. And so the rest of the town back then was all because of Sylvania. And there were multiple grocery stores, there were butcher shops, there were a couple different funeral homes, there were, you know, gas stations and mechanics and movie theater, only one of those. And there's a drive-in in St. Mary's, I guess. And so everything really, milkman, and you know, I remember the milkman bringing milk to the house and bringing eggs too. He was a farmer. It was right before some of that was right before the company started. You know, this was still in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. But in the 60s, for sure, there was still a milkman, and it was very much like you'd see represented on TV, where there's all kinds of small businesses.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.